Okay guys, we're going to make some serious nutrient-packed bread today for Ethan. We're going to put this in it. This is the only way I can get my son to touch vegetables. I hide it in his food. So anyways, this is a carrot, bok choy, collard green, and kale. So we're going to put those in it, and we're going to be using a bread mix. It's called Pamela's Amazing Wheat-Free, Gluten-Free Bread. And the cheapest place you can get this that I know of is on Amazon.com. You can buy it in bulk and you can get 15% off and free shipping. That's what I do. Or you can get it like at a grocery store, a health food store. It runs you about $5 to $6 if you buy it at a health food store, but online I think it's about $3.50. The price changes a little bit, but not too much. So anyways, we're going to get started. I'm going to make 2 at once. It's just faster for me that way. So there's one. Sometimes I'll even make 4 at once. I like to make a bunch of it and then I freeze it. Okay, so we've got the flour in our bowl, and then they give you little yeast packets, so we've got both of those in. And then I like to stir the yeast into my flour. Then you need to take one of these, and the recipe calls for 2 eggs. I'm going to do 4. I'm doing 2. It says that the mix is made for a bread machine too. I don't have a bread machine, and you're supposed to mix it with a heavy-duty mixer. I just use a wooden spoon. That's all I use, and it comes out perfectly. You don't need special equipment for this. So there's my eggs, and then next it says to throw in some oil. I like to use coconut oil. Where did I put my oil? This is just from Walmart. I can't remember why coconut oil is supposed to be good for autism, but it is. I can't remember. I'll have to look it up somewhere, but it's just what I like to use. So there it is. You're supposed to use a 1/4 cup. I'm using a 1/2 cup because I'm making 2. So there's that. And then after that, you're supposed to fill it up to 2 cups from there up. You want to make it 2 cups of liquid, which is 4 cups for me because I'm making 2. And I turn on my water on my tap as hot as I can get it, because this other liquid cools it down. In the recipe, it says to do it 2 cups and then add 2 tablespoons of water. Anything close works. This bread turns out for me every single time. So anyways, I've got this stuff, and I put it in my Ninja. This is a smoothie maker. Let me see. Okay, I think you can see me over there. Okay, then in here I have 3 leaves of kale. That's this curly one. 1 leaf of collard greens, 1 bok choy leaf, the whole thing, and then a whole carrot. So I've got all of that in here. You can add as much as you want. Like, that's a lot of food. It makes the bread bigger too. It makes you have more. So anyways, I'm going to dump that in with there and hope that it works for me. I also put this in his pizza dough too. Just pack as much vegetables into him as I possibly can. blend all this together. Okay, so we've got that. I'm going to dump it in with the flour. Okay, pretty good. Then I just take my spoon. I like to use a plastic wooden spoon. Just wooden spoons to me. They gross me out because I feel like they've got all the food that I ever made all stuck in, just seeped into the wood. So I like to use the wooden ones. They're super cheap at Walmart. So anyways, just gonna stir that up nice and good. See that? Let me see if I can. Yeah. It says to, on the machine it says to stir it for 3 minutes. I just stir it till it's nice and good together. It's not a picky recipe. It works really well. You can put the vegetables in just any baked good. You can do it in muffins, pancakes. And if you do it in pancakes, I recommend using frozen leaves because they don't show as much. I know this is looking green, but when it's baked, you're not going to be able to see it as much. If you look really close, you can see specks. My son has no idea that there is vegetables in there. At least he didn't till I told him, and then when I told him, he was happy because he was making me happy that he was eating his vegetables. And yeah, he talks to me about how he's eating his vegetables when he eats his bread. But that's got to be your decision. You choose whether or not you want to actually tell your kid they're having vegetables or not. A slippery spoon. I've got dough all over my hand. The reason I decided to do this was a friend of mine, to mix in all of the vegetables, is a friend of mine told me about a book called Eat to Live. It's by Dr. Joel Fuhrman. You might want to look him up on YouTube and you'll hear what he has to say about nutrition, about getting plenty of greens in your kid. And he has a book too. Yeah, I told you. And he has all sorts of cool ways to hide really high nutrient food. He talks about eating on a nutrient to calorie ratio, so trying to get as much food, nutrients in your food as possible. So anyways, here's my bread pan. This is a glass one. I really like this one. The wider the pan, the more the bread is just kind of flat. This one just raises it up and makes it a really good sandwich bread. So anyways, I'm going to grab both of these. I'm going to try and distribute it. Can you see this? Okay. Trying to distribute it into both of these evenly. Can you see that? I missed some flour. Let's stir that up a little better. This works when my hand's not all sticky and gooey from the bread dough. Should have been more careful. Usually that doesn't happen to me. Okay, this is the first time it's ever happened to me. But yeah, get that all stirred in good. Okay. So you just want to make it nice and even. You could probably try any mix with this. Like I said, I do pizza dough. It all tastes pretty good. I don't like for my kid to miss out, even though he has to be on a gluten and dairy-free diet. Try and make the food as exciting as possible. And as healthy as possible. I try and pack as much in as I can, and it's made all of the difference. It's not just gluten and dairy free, it's trying to get them to absorb as many nutrients as you possibly can. Of course, I'm sure you know. And there's a trick when I'm all done getting these in. There's a trick to making the bread even all the way across. You know how the bread, with homemade bread, the very end piece is always kind of tiny. You want to kind of make, I'll show you in a minute. You want to make it really even across the top. If any part is going to stick up, you don't want it to stick up in the middle. You want to stick up on these sides right here, because those are, and then it'll end up being more even, if you know what I mean. You won't have two little pieces of bread that you don't have anything to do with. You want to make the most use of all of your bread as possible. You don't want to have any little pieces that you can't use. And I know this seems like a lot of bread, but there's a cool way I'm going to show you of how I cut it up, and I put it in little bags and I freeze it. Try and use every last bit of dough. The thing that's nice about gluten-free ones too, bread mixes, is that you don't have to knead them at all. You just stir it up and it's done. It's like faster than cookies. Which I don't know. I guess that's not a very good comparison. Okay, I think I've got it all. So anyways, can you see what I'm doing? I'm going to try and make it the same all the way across so that we don't have those small end pieces. We want to be able to use it all. So I'm going to go all the way across. When I'm done with this, I'm going to cover them, and they sit for an hour to rise. And the dough is supposed to rise even more when it gets in the oven. You'll look at it maybe sometimes and you'll be like, that didn't rise at all. I bet my yeast didn't work. But that's not the case. It'll go in the oven and it'll bake and rise right up. Because you've got all of these vegetables, you'll have even more bread than you would have to start when you started. So there we go. I'm going to cover it. I'm going to let it rise for an hour, and then I'm going to bake it for 70 minutes. Let me see if I can turn this off without getting dough all over.